What are my thoughts on 1,000 AKT, which is the native token of Akash? Now, even though nothing I say is financial advice, what do I mean by that, right? Not too long ago, someone asked me if 1,000 AKT, not in terms of the dollar amount, I'm just saying, like, again, 1,000 AKT, they asked if it was good enough. Now, even though I can't speak on anyone's behalf, I can only speak on my perspective, I wouldn't find that disappointing personally for me because for whatever reason, hypothetically speaking, if let's say AKT went to the price of $25, now at that point, 1,000 AKT is going to be worth 25 grand. Now, some people may be thinking, like, okay, why'd you care about that? Well, here's the thing. If that is not the only thing I'm holding in my portfolio, I don't know why I would find that disappointing. I'd actually be very excited, actually. But I'm not telling them to do anything. However, this is just my perspective. But even if, let's say, out of that 25 grand, I just saved, let's say, 3 grand, right? And I use that for the next cycle, and for whatever reason during the next cycle that does a 10x, so it becomes 30 grand. Like, even at that point, I don't know why I would complain if, let's say, that's not the only thing I'm holding as well. Now, this is all just hypothetical, but I'm just saying. At the end of the day, basically, I don't think 1,000 AKT is something I would find disappointing, but I can't speak on anyone's behalf. This is just my perspective. However, sometimes people like to say, but okay, $25. Like, what is that even all about when it comes to AKT? Well, my perspective is this. $25 is around a 30x from here right now. And the market cap at that point, considering current circulating supply, would be around 7 billion. That's not a groundbreaking achievement in my opinion if it were to maybe even reach that. It's not like something monumental, right? It's nothing that would break any records because, again, around a $7 billion market cap, we even saw Dogecoin reach over 80 billion back in 2021. It's not like this is a groundbreaking figure, but that I think is kind of the point where it doesn't seem like that unrealistic to me and it doesn't seem that outlandish to me either. Like it doesn't scream to me where it's like, oh, this is like 100 billion. No, I mean, again, it's just around 7 billion. At the idea of around a 30x, right, to go to the price of $25, is Ethereum going to be doing that in the next 5 months? I don't know about that. I just would have a hard time believing that actually. And also on top of that, let alone Bitcoin. Now, 300 grand when it comes to Bitcoin, like that's a different case. Like, I don't think I've seen Bitcoin reach a kind of ceiling for it, I think, during this cycle. However, maybe 300 grand wouldn't necessarily surprise me. However, let's say a 30x or like even over a 10x in the next 5 months for Bitcoin. Even I don't know about that. Like, I don't really want to even think about that actually, because it just seems like the market cap would be too massive at that point. I'm not saying what it could be 10 years later, 5 years later, 30 years. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying currently, like what I see in the next 5 months, I just maybe don't see that. But then, of course, because Akash is kind of more so of this project that is more specialized, I would say it's kind of more focused on a certain niche. It doesn't have like such a broad appeal in a way where it's kind of more so a little bit niche, which is why I think that when it comes to the price pullback, it's been pretty massive in the grand scheme of things. But I haven't given up because if my intention is to dollar cost average, I don't know why I would complain if a project that I do like and see its native token necessarily kind of have this pullback. I don't know why I'd complain about that if, again, my intention is a dollar cost average, even though I'm not telling it to do anything. But also on top of that, if I feel like nothing bad fundamentally happened to the project, I don't know why I would give up if the price was, again, temporarily kind of having a pullback, along with a bunch of other altcoins, by the way. It's not like AKT is the only one, right? This is just my perspective. And yeah, with that being said, I just don't know why I would give up on it. Now, when it comes to Akash, what are the fundamentals? Sometimes people might be thinking. Now, let me explain it kind of in a simple way. It's supposedly the world's first decentralized supercloud. Now, sometimes people might be thinking, okay, why would you care about something like this? Well, here's the thing. A cloud in this case is someone's computer sitting in a data center. And keep in mind, right, there's millions of data centers in this world. But then if we think about it, there's a lot of unused capacity when it comes to this. It's just kind of doing nothing. Again, it's unused capacity. So here's where Akash steps in. Akash steps in and takes the available capacity and it creates something called a supercloud. Now, it creates a supercloud that connects the private and public clouds in a decentralized manner. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, what is the benefit of something like this? Well, one of the benefits of something like this is that, for instance, it gives better access to resources in the case of, like, let's say getting GPUs, or should I say graphic processing units for AI, right? And we all know that AI, it's been sort of this big narrative, especially when altcoins are doing pretty good. As of right now, a lot of these AI projects, they're not necessarily doing the best, but still, a bunch of altcoins are not doing good. But we have to consider the AI market is expected to be worth nearly $2 trillion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. So that's pretty massive. And again, when I take a look at a project that's focused on AI, let's say, it's a little bit more, I think, kind of mainstream in some cases. But when it comes to Akash, when I just consider kind of the use case, taking like unused capacity from a data center, let's say, for instance, it's kind of more like this unique sort of project. It's more a little bit specific. So I think this kind of unique nature of it is what's going to work maybe towards its advantage during an altcoin season. But during a time when the space isn't necessarily doing the best, I think it's actually going to work against it because being something that is so unique, so kind of specialized in a way, it doesn't have this like broad appeal, especially when the market is not doing the best. But let's say when the market is doing better, usually people do want to look for, I think in some cases, a project that is unique, that's more interesting, that's a little bit more specialized, that's a little bit different, right? So then I think what's working for it maybe during an altcoin season may very well work against it as of right now during a time where the altcoin space isn't necessarily doing the best. But again, I don't mind necessarily that for the short to medium term because I am dollar cost averaging. So why would I only want a dollar cost average when the price is doing good? I just don't get it. This is just my opinion. It's like, for instance, let's say I like this shirt, right? Imagine if I only wanted it at full price, but when there's like a 60% discount, I just don't want it anymore. How does that make sense? I'm not telling you to do anything, but I'm just talking about a shirt in this case, right? I'm just giving this perspective. But yeah, that's just the way to take a look at it. Now, again, when it comes to AKT, this is just my perspective. I'm not telling anyone to do this or that when it comes to AKT. I'm not saying that. I can only speak on my behalf, but again, when I just take a look at Akash overall in terms of the fundamentals, what it's trying to do, what it's trying to achieve so far, I don't think it's that bad. However, also keep in mind, Akash claims to be the world's premier decentralized compute marketplace, and a compute marketplace is a platform where people can buy and sell computing power. So, yeah, overall, I think Akash, I like the fundamentals. I don't think it is a project that's kind of bad fundamentally because I actually think it's good in terms of my perception. And when it comes to, again, when is there going to be an altcoin season? Like, look, I would want one to happen right now if I could, but then I can't demand that, right? I can't just demand an altcoin season to start when I feel like it and do this and do that. I can't do that. The market is going to wake up when it wants to. That is completely out of my control. The only thing I can do, literally, is just stay patient, hold, and just wait. That's it for the projects that I do like. Beyond that, I can't control anything else. Like, I can't even control Akash in any way because I'm not a part of their team when it comes to the altcoin space, let alone how can I control that? I can't. So whenever there's an altcoin season, whenever it may start, I just want to know that I am prepared by just holding. So then maybe if it does wake up, it's kind of like going along with the ride. This is just my perspective. Because I don't think I've seen an altcoin season during this cycle. This is just my perspective. Will we ever even see one during this cycle? Who knows? But I just want to prepare nonetheless by just holding, waiting. However, I think only time will tell. Even though, again, nothing I say is financial advice, I'm still staying patient. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I want to say thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate that as well. And I hope you all have a nice day. It's Mali the Captain, and I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.